They should not grow up hearing, no, you can't eat this, no, you can't drink that, no, you can't wear this, no, you can't go there, this is our religion, we can't do that. It backfires. You want to
Okay, so this is the first thing that she's saying. It backfires. If you say no, 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 and she gives examples. She said, don't eat this, don't drink this, don't wear this, don't go there. This will backfire. And this is the idea of this is coming from a specific psychological theory called reactance theory. When you tell someone no, or you tell a child, no, don't do this, and you restrict them, they perceive, the individual perceives this as a restriction on their freedom. You are restricting their freedom, and they will experience what's called reactance. Reactance. They will react by being motivated. They're in a motivational state to try to regain or reclaim that freedom that they perceive that they have lost. So this results in doing the opposite of what you have prohibited them to do. They will react by doing exactly what you have prohibited them to do. So this is what she's referring to. It will backfire. If you tell your kids, no, don't eat this, no, don't drink this, no, don't wear this, no, don't go there, it will backfire. They'll actually want to do it all the more. They'll want to do that all the more because of this motivational state, this reactance that they will experience. This is what Jack Brem and the psychological consensus has been on these kinds of prohibitions. Now, how do we respond to reactance theory? It's very simple. This reactance theory is the way that liberals respond to the moral boundaries that they don't agree with, the moral restrictions that they don't agree with. But they don't have the same response to the moral boundaries that they do agree with, right? This is something that I've raised in previous debates and live streams, and it's pretty easy to understand this critique. Because any moral boundary that you have, any moral theory that you have is going to have restrictions. Is that not the case? It doesn't matter if it's Islam, if it's Christianity, if it's Judaism, if it's liberalism, if it's secularism, if it's feminism, communism, they all have moral boundaries. They all have a moral boundary is a restriction. A restriction is a prohibition. A prohibition is a no. You're not allowed to do this. Every religion, every moral theory has boundaries and restrictions and prohibitions. You cannot violate them. So doesn't reactance theory imply that we can't have any moral boundaries because no matter how much you try to restrict people, they're going to be motivated to violate precisely those boundaries? Isn't that the logical implication or entailment of this reactance theory from Jack Brem? But liberals only use reactance theory in a selective way. They direct this criticism of boundaries against the moral boundaries that they disagree with. So liberals have a problem if you tell women to cover themselves, to be modest, to not engage in fornication. Liberals react to this when you tell them Islam restricts you from drinking and doing drugs and mixing and on and on. All the restrictions that come in Islam, liberals disagree with, they say, oh, this is just going to backfire on you. This is just going to be backfire because of reactance. But you just easily can turn it around on them. When it comes to the liberal prohibitions or the prohibitions that liberals agree with, we also say that this is going to backfire if you restrict people from doing it. So if you tell people don't harass women, don't harass women, don't catcall women, don't disrespect women. If you say that, that's only going to motivate men to engage in more harassment of women. It's going to only motivate men to engage in more catcalling of women, more sexual assault of women. If you tell them don't do that, don't be a sexist. If you tell men don't be a sexist, they're only going to be motivated to be more of a sexist. So we shouldn't tell them, we shouldn't restrict men from misogyny and sexism, etc., etc. Isn't that the logic of reactance theory? Don't be a racist. If you tell people don't be racist, being a racist is bad. People are going to be motivated to be even more racist. People are going to be motivated to be even more bigoted. So you can't tell people not to be racist. For example, don't tell the Taliban, don't prevent women from getting an education. Don't prevent girls from getting an education. If you tell that to the Taliban is going to be more motivated to block little girls from going to school and learning how to read and write. So don't give these dictates to the Taliban. You're only going to get the opposite reaction. It's actually going to backfire on you. So, or don't tell people to not engage in minor marriage. If you tell them not to engage in minor marriage, they're going to be only more motivated to get married young. Right? So this is the response to reactance theory. And so the whole idea is completely bunk. The whole idea is completely ridiculous. How can you not tell your children no? Like, how can you not tell your children no You have to tell your children no, not only for inculcating religious values, but also their own safety. When you tell children don't do this, don't do that, it's motivated oftentimes because you want to protect them. You want to protect them from serious harm. So when you aren't trying to protect your children from serious harm, you sometimes have to be very strict. You have to tell your children that you mean business because they won't necessarily understand. They don't understand the dangers or the larger consequences. So when you tell your children, don't ever talk to strangers, or don't ever go into a stranger's car, or don't ever go into a stranger's house, don't ever walk out of wherever you are, at the park, at the playground, with a stranger, when you give that kind of admonition, it's very stern, it's very strict, and it is meant to scare your children. That's part of it. You want to scare them because they don't necessarily understand the severity of the consequences. And that's dangerous because they're children. Their cognitive capacities haven't been fully developed yet. But children understand fear. They understand the fear of punishment. They understand an authority figure that is basically threatening them. Like in the mind of a child, they can't really understand the dangers of what a stranger could do to them. Maybe the stranger wants to give them candy. Maybe the stranger wants to give them a kitten to play with. That's what the stranger has said to me on the playground. So I don't really understand why my dad and my mom don't want me to go with a stranger. It seems actually innocuous. Seems like I'm giving up something really nice, the candy or the puppies and the kittens, if I just go with a stranger. But I am afraid of my dad. I am afraid of my mom. They sounded pretty serious when they told me not to do it. And I know that if I disobey my dad and my mom, they're going to get upset and they're going to punish me. Maybe I'll get a spanking. They understand that. The child understands that. So if you give parents this direction, and the thing about going with a stranger, okay, that's a secular example, but what greater danger is there than a danger to their deen, a danger to their religion, a danger to their iman? That's even a greater danger that a child will not necessarily understand. And even human beings might not necessarily understand. Even us as human beings, the prohibitions, all of the prohibitions that Allah has given us, some of them we don't necessarily know the full impact to our souls, the full metaphysical, ontological impact to our akhirah, to the afterlife, to our place in the universe. When we engage in certain sins, when we violate certain prohibitions that Allah has given us, Allah hasn't given us the whole picture to understand the full impact of that. Even so that this is our human condition, actually. But specifically with children, the respect of authority goes a long way to protect them. And in a similar way, as Muslims, as believers, our fear of Allah, the taqwa that we have of Allah, that goes a long way to protecting us. Not everything is something where we have the wherewithal, the ability to understand the prohibition, and that's certainly the case with children. So saying no, 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 no is sometimes extremely necessary. It's very important. It cannot be, you cannot, as a parent, you cannot have hesitation to restrict. You have to set boundaries. You have to give these strong restrictions.